For October 17th, 2017. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Next, we'll move on to Spotlight on Recognition. Peggy.
It's my pleasure to recognize two individuals. Our Employee of the Month for September is Lindsay Crawford. And it's very appropriate that Tony is here tonight because both of these, or this Employee of the Month comes out of our Community Ed program, and there's a connection with our next one as well. Lindsay has quite a history with Tiger Club. As a child, she attended our program along with two of her sisters. When she was a college student at Stout, she volunteered one summer to fulfill some field work. Once she graduated, we hired her, then promoted her, and promoted her again. She is currently the program manager for the school-age childcare. Lindsay is organized and terrific with details. She's a thinker. She asks a lot of good questions, and she recently completed her master's degree in social work. She's passionate, cares deeply about the kids, and strives to create richest environments and experiences for children while they're at Tiger Club. She connects easily and naturally with parents, is respected, and works collaboratively with her teammates, her peers, building staff, supervisor, and administrators. She's an asset to Community Ed and to the Fridley School District, and very deserving. That was written by Tony Kraft. So congratulations to Lindsay. Our Employee of the Month for October is Krista Landrear. Krista is in the position of our payroll specialist, and she has been one of the employees that were key to the transitioning of our new HR, finance, and payroll system called Skyward. She has, this has sometimes been challenging, but she has always been impressively responsive and timely with any issues that our staff has had. She always works quickly to find solutions and remains balanced and caring in her response. She communicates in a clear fashion with what the issue was and how it is resolved. Her knowledge of payroll in general and Skyward specifically has been extremely strong. In short, Krista is an employee that displays all the traits of the IB learner profile. So congratulations to Krista, and that was written by another Community Ed person, Stephen Keeler. So thanks for that nomination as well.
Oh, thank you. Congratulations to both employees. Superintendent and staff reports.
So tonight, Jael is here to give us a brief update on this year's legislative priorities that we will share with our legislators as the session begins in January.
Thank you, and good evening. Every year, Fridley Public Schools creates a legislative platform that is not very different from what other school districts are advocating for in terms of tax reform and tax relief to our school district. So again, this year, we are focusing on tax relief and reform and looking at the basic formula and working with our legislators and other advocacy groups and supporters of education to make sure that these reforms are made and are permanent and continue to generate additional funding for school districts such as Fridley that unfortunately have low property wealth. So Fridley Public Schools, as most of you know, is an urban school district that is located in the city of Fridley, Minnesota. We have 5 schools, 2 elementaries, 1 middle and a high school, and an area learning center, and a community center that supports children, our citizens age from birth to seniors. And we serve about 3,000 students, and our students make up about 54% students of color. And we have students who receive free reduced meals, as well as students who are English language learners and students who also get special education. we support all our students and all our families. And while our students who receive free meals have continued to increase, our support system continue to be structured around the support that our students may need. So in the last few years, our priorities are focused on reform that will increase equitable funding, which therefore eliminate funding disparities that lead to opportunity gaps for our students and our schools. So when we look at tax relief and reform, we know that our school districts typically get additional funding through levies. And when you're in a school district like Fridley that has low property wealth, our community members who are homeowners end up shouldering majority of that burden because it's not spread equally through commercial real estates that we don't have. And adjusting and reforming this tax relief will make sure that while we continue to get the funding that we need through voter-approved levies, it does not create the huge burden that our community members currently go through. With the limited commercial real estates within our school boundaries, Fridley is one of those low property wealth school districts that has greater reliance on voter-approved levies for funding. Our numbers, like I said before, continue to increase, knowing that our students come to us with additional support without having the funding to be able to meet their educational needs. We run the risk of creating opportunity gaps for students who are already feeling as if they are underserved. The basic formula is something that has gone up slightly in the past. Last year, most advocacy groups were pushing for a 2.5% increase. And even if that was awarded in its entirety, it's still not enough because it has not kept up with inflation. So when you think about the cost of educating students continue to go up, when you think about the cost of building a new building, renovating, remodeling, some of our buildings are really old and need that work. All of these costs continue to rise, but the formula has not kept up with inflation. So the amount of dollars we get that we got 5 years ago has not kept up with inflation for some of the constructional things that we may need, or some of the additional support that our students may need. So we continue to support and advocate for an increase in the basic formula so we can get the additional funding that our students need and our classrooms need. Due to some best practices in our finance department, we have been able to really reduce the amount of cross-subsidy to 22%. The state average is 40%, so we are doing really well in that area. But despite that, we still have to dip into our general fund to come up with additional money to be able to fully fund our special education and other compensatory programs that our district uses to support students. And the last thing on our list, which is not very different from what other advocacy groups are pushing for, is looking at ways with which, school districts and school board members can work together with their communities to really look at how they can customize their funding to really fit the needs of their communities, understanding that school boards and school districts and administration understand their communities better than anybody else does. One size doesn't fit all. It would be really great if they can, change policy to allow them and give them that control to be able to make those changes and adjust them as they need to. So this document is something that we will post on our website. Throughout the school year, we look for opportunities to engage with our state representatives and any opportunity that we have to be able to lend our voice among the many voices across Minnesota that are advocating for public funding, changes in the way that our schools are funded so that it shouldn't matter where you are, where you live or where your child goes to school. They should be able to get the same type of funding so that we can continue to work to eliminate the educational gaps and opportunity gaps that some of our students face.
Great.
Nice.
Thank you, Jael.
Thank you.
Good information.
Very well said.
Now we have the Community Engagement Survey. Tony Kraft.
Good evening. So I'm here just to kind of give a quick heads up about something that's upcoming and just want everyone to know about. Through Community Ed, we often and always, when we have programs, get evaluations from people who take advantage of those to get information about what we could do better and what people are enjoying. But we realize that we reach a lot of people in our community, but there are a lot of people who don't take advantage of our community ed programs or offerings at the Fridley Community Center. So we are pleased to be in the process of putting together a community needs assessment to try and get feedback from not only people who utilize our programs, but also those folks in the community who are not reaching, to kind of figure out, what those gaps in services are and possible program additions. So Springstead Incorporated, who's done some work with the district in the past, is who we are going to be working with. They're going to be conducting a scientific random sample survey, hopefully within the upcoming month. We're right now in the process of putting together that survey, working with them to draft questions and so forth. It will consist of 300 random sample phone interviews of residents that Springstead will conduct, utilizing a 30-item questionnaire. The survey itself should take 12 minutes or less to complete for those people who do get called. The interviews will be conducted in English, Spanish, and possibly a few other languages. We're still finalizing some of those pieces. And the data, we're really excited about it. The valuable data we gain will again help us confirm what we're doing well, our strengths, but also hopefully help us figure out what those gaps in services are and how we can better reach those who we're not reaching right now. Basically, I wanted to let you all know, and those watching know, that if you do get a call from Springstead, we'd really appreciate you taking that 10 to 12 minutes to give us that feedback, because I think it's going to really provide valuable data for not only community ed, but for the district as well. I look forward to coming back within a few months to share the information that we get from Springstead, the data, with you all. So again, just kind of a heads up about something coming up. Questions?
No, I just want to say thank you for, letting us know. I really appreciate the fresh approach that you've been taking over the last couple years in terms of looking at the services and the management of the community ed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've really expanded offerings. There's a lot of variety when you look through there.
There is, and again, we're trying to reach people, but we know that there are lots of people who are not, and we kind of want to know, why is that, and how can we do better? So we're looking forward to hearing.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate
you.
that, Tony. Okay. Next, we have business action items, beginning with resolution accepting gifts. And once again, as a district, we're fortunate to be in a very giving community. The following, excuse me, corporations and people have donated to the district. Fridley High School received $50 from Target Corporation. The following people donated to Hayes Elementary School for a total of $5,181.53. David Hochschild for the backpack program. Kula Foundation, Deanna Roth, some anonymous donors. St. Philip's Lutheran Church donated boots, hats, gloves, jackets, and snow pants, and hopefully we will not need those for some time. And the following people donated to Fridley Public Schools for a total of $500. St. Philip's Lutheran Church for emergency lunch balance accounts. And the Fridley Community Education received $500 once again from St. Philip's Lutheran Church for teen and student parents using Itsy Bitsy Tigers Child Care. And there's a state statute that says the school district may accept gifts by the adoption and resolution of 2/3 of its members. So is there a motion?
Move the resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will second that.
There's been a motion by Sampson, seconded by Delvo, to approve the resolution, thanking the donors and accepting the gifts. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 And the resolution passes. Thank you. Okay, now we have second reading and adoption of policies. Jennifer.
Thank you. Both of these two policies are up for second reading this evening. There wasn't any changes from the first reading, so I'm just asking that you guys approve them. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the second reading and adoption of policies 515.1, the data request policy for subjects of data, and policies 996, data request policy for public data.
Second.
There's been a motion by Riddle, seconded by Thornton, to accept the second reading and adoption of policies 515.1 and 996. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. Now we have our consent agenda. The consent agenda includes routine action items such as minutes of the regular school board meeting and work session held on September 19th, 2017, monthly financial reports, new contracts, amendments, leaves of absence, terminations, resignations, and retirements, assurance of compliance and mandated reporting, casual employees' salaries for 2017-18, peer advisor memo of understanding, statewide health improvement program agreement, and the 7th and 8th grade band visit to Chicago, which is scheduled for May 10th through the 12th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Been a motion by Riddle, seconded by Delvo to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Okay, written information. Peggy.
Tonight, before you is the first of the month reports that we give you on October 1. This is kind of an important time. It kind of, at this point, our enrollment typically smooths out a little bit, and we had done some adjusting in some teacher needs that we had throughout the district. You see that the numbers are higher than our projection. However, it is spread throughout the district. In particular, there were some particular at Stevenson Elementary, and those have been dealt with as well as a few pieces at the middle school. The middle school numbers are not quite as high as we had anticipated. However, we also added an ALC sixth grade program, which we hadn't had in the past. So some of the numbers, you can't double count kids, so we put them in one place or the other. But overall, again, our enrollment is strong, and we're excited about that. If you look down at the bottom of October 1 for ALC, their numbers are also strong. And in the past, I know this group has talked about, are they really just moving on from our high school numbers, and that hasn't been the case. So those are strong as well. So we're very optimistic about the role that enrollment will play and how it fits in with our budget for this year.
Okay, thank you. First reading of policies. We'll begin with Peggy.
The Board Policy 104 is the school district number 14 mission statement. There is no change in the wording per se, but what we are asking to do is the fourth section in this policy is the 5 broad school board operational priorities, which are really your if you will say, your charge to the school district administration and teachers about what your priorities are, and then this is our operation plan that we need to do. Our schools, for the most part, spend a lot of time looking at the goals that they do with understanding these 5 board priorities of improving student achievement, of instructional strategies, creating a positive environment, building financial stability, and parent and community engagement. And people talk about those, and they are truly operationalized as we do our own personal goals and our building goals. So we're just asking that that piece be moved to procedure documents that we have that parallel our policies, and everything is always on our website.
Okay, thanks, Peggy. Okay, the next four belong to Jennifer.
Just real briefly on policy 401, equal opportunity employment, there's just an update to reflect contacting myself instead of Amina. So that information is in there with that one. On the next one, 404, employment background checks, we made some real limited changes in here, and mainly to reflect our practice with regards to the forms and documentation that candidates fill out for employment background checks. 406, public and private personnel data. Again, limited changes in this one, and reflective of the other policies that we had just had approved tonight, and cross-referencing those policies as well, and the corresponding procedures for doing data requests, whether it be for personnel data, and then there's also the student data as a companion to that as well. So there's a slight addition for that. And then on the final policy, 418, drug-free workplace and drug-free school, there's an update to reflect the change in law regarding medical cannabis. So that is included in there to just address that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will see you again next month for the second reading. Okay, reports from school board members. We'll begin with Northwest Suburban Integration School District, the Joint Powers Board meeting held September 20th. Chris?
Well, at the board meeting, the main items that we had to approve is with Mounds View's leaving of the collaborative. They were handling a lot of our accounting portions of the district, so we went in and actually have hired Bergen KDV, who has done our accounting here for many years for our audit purposes, but we will hire them for the day-to-day activities of the accounting department. The actual bigger things that occurred with Northwest actually occurred after the meeting. We found out about 2 weeks after the meeting that we unfortunately were not awarded the magnet school grants that we had applied for. Again, the winners for that grant program went to some large city districts. So we're going through our post-mortem on that process to determine what we could do better for the next time, so that hopefully next time we will be on the winning end again.
Thanks, Chris. Next is Schools for Equity in Education, meeting held September 22nd. Carol?
Okay, the first speaker at that meeting was Michael Dietrich, and he is the policy, hopefully I didn't mess up his name, Dietrich. He's the policy specialist at the Minnesota Department of Education. This act replaced the No Child Left Behind Act in December 2015. It gives states and school districts more control over their education systems. States are required to submit their goals and standards and how they plan to achieve the goals to the Department of Education. The plans must include, he mentioned, the academic standards, annual testing in reading and math for 3rd through 8th grade, and also once again in high school. School accountability is a part of that. I'm talking about the academic achievement, parent involvement, having the high school graduation rates, goals for that academic achievement, and plans for supporting and improving struggling schools, and how they plan to work with that. And also they'll have a state and local report cards and discussing how they're doing in that process. It also provides funding for literacy programs and other grants that can help students succeed. Our next speaker there was Dr. Bill Morris. He's the Minnesota leading analyst of public opinion and public trends here. And he discussed results from a recent survey that focused on the perceptions toward education here in Minnesota. He said that education is the most important issue. It's up 24%. Last year was 17%. 64% favor operating levy renewal here in Minnesota, and 56% feel funding is adequate for education, and last year was 42%. And also another item was C is new member, again, is Stillwater is back in. So those were the highlights
Okay,
of the meeting.
thank you. Northeast Metro 916 Board meeting held on October 4th. There was discussion regarding the parameters and budgeting for contract negotiations for the directors in the district. There was some misunderstanding from different member districts on how this was funded and what impact it had for the member districts. And also, last month, I had reported that Christine Carr, who was the Director of Finance, had announced her retirement. And Christine, in addition to being the Director of Finance, she wore many hats for the district, and they now are looking at how to redistribute some of the work and restructuring that position, and that has not been filled as of yet. The Association of Metropolitan School Districts, the board meeting held on October 6th. Mary Kay?
Yes, they covered some updates on the special education cross subsidy. It is anticipated that that is going to continue to grow. It's at 679 million right now, and that's up 36 million from the previous year. This is, we can say, really great work to the staff at Fridley who have Jael referred to this when she was talking about her legislative platform, and that Fridley is at 22% and the state average is at 40%. So we're doing some things right in Fridley systemically in order to keep those costs down for our district, but that is something that the Association of Metropolitan School Districts is very, very much watching and at the forefront of. We also got the news that the budget projections for the state of Minnesota are at a structural budget deficit, which is not what they were anticipating in the last forecast. So the numbers have not come in where they have wanted them to. At this time, we don't know any impacts, but it is certainly on the table that there could be cuts to the existing budget if need be. So that was not good news at the state level, and no decisions are made. So we'll just do business as usual, knowing that that could be on the table at some point. The other part of our meeting, we had a report from the School Trust Lands Director, Aaron Van Lind. It was very interesting, and I won't go into too much detail or they'll take a commercial break here and cut me off. So, but in a nutshell, there's in the 1800s, there's 2.5 million acres of land that was trusted to school districts in Minnesota as a revenue source to be managed so that they can get maximize the long-term economic benefit out of those lands. The statewide distribution was 30 million for that, and that turns out to be about 81,000 for the Fridley district. So every school district in the state gets a portion of those, and so we got an update as to how those are being managed and what the projections are and how that land is being used for the benefit of the state of Minnesota to support our public schools.
Right, thank you. Important future school board dates, the AMSD board meeting, November 3rd, 7 to 9 a.m. in the Ties Conference Center. Northeast Metro 916 board will meet November 1st, 6 p.m. at Bel Air School. Next Fridley Public Schools board meeting will be held November 21st. Work session, 5:30 p.m. City Hall Conference Room A, open forum, 7 p.m. Also, City Hall Conference Room A, and the business meeting follows at 7:30 p.m. City Council Chambers. There is a Truth and Taxation meeting, which will be held December 19th, 2017, 7 p.m. City Hall Conference Room A. If there are no other items, I look for a motion for adjournment.
I will move to adjourn.
Second.
There's been a motion by Delvo, seconded by Thornton to adjourn at 8:02 PM. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. We are adjourned.